want to thank everyone so much for joining us today. I know it's still very hot, but it's so nice to be able to see everyone's faces and to be able to connect. I know a lot of the mask mandates are going away, so we just have so much to celebrate and look forward to. And I'm so grateful to be here. I know Stephanie was thanking me earlier, and this is just, I get paid to represent this awesome company and show beautiful pictures on these incredible destinations. So I'm just grateful to be here with y'all. So I'd like to begin by introducing myself. My name's Mandy McCarthy, and I'm actually based in Omaha, Nebraska. I serve the Heartland area, cover Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, Colorado, and Wyoming. So some of the nicest people in the world are my clients, and I feel very fortunate to be covering for Karen because she's just my work best friend is what I call her. So as far as Omaha, I don't know if any of y'all have been there before, but we're pretty well known for the College World Series. And also the Omaha Henry Doorly Zoo is world renowned. But I have to mention, in lieu of the topic tonight, we have an awesome museum. Joslyn Art Museum is incredible. So if you do ever get into Omaha, into the area, or Iowa, because we're just right on the border there, please do come check us out because it's just a lovely city to be in. And so I know Laura wants to say hello here.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you all. We had different versions of PowerPoint, so I apologize that this slide looks a little bit crazy. But I know I've talked to you many times before, but I kind of wanted to prove to you why I am a good person to go on this trip with and why I'm well equipped to lead you to traipse through Europe with you guys through a bunch of art museums. This is my CV on a slide. Essentially, these are all museums that I've worked at around the world or places that I've studied. So two that are particularly applicable here is I did a degree at the University of Glasgow in Scotland. It's an antiquities trafficking and art crime program, which I just finished up a couple years ago, and it was such a blast. And then I also did the Association of Research into Crimes Against Art, which is in Emilia, Italy, and Umbria. And I just, can't get enough art crime. So I'm so excited to be able to make a trip out of this. Slide, Mandy. And I just, if you couldn't guess by that previous slide, I just love to travel. It's my husband and my main hobby. I've been to, I think I'm at 71 different countries. And most of the time I'm traveling to go to art museums. That's like my thing. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in the next slide. But I wanted to just point out that I also, on non-COVID summers and spring breaks, I lecture about art crime on luxury cruise ships. So some of these pictures are from when I was in port on different cruises, like the Hermitage, that was a cruise of the Baltic Sea. And so travel and art crime and art museums are things that I hold very near and dear and are very much a part of my everyday life. Okay, next slide.
Well, and I just wanted to take a moment and introduce Colette to any of you that maybe haven't traveled with us before. I know anytime I'm at a presentation, I hear great testimonies about either experiences on tour or especially in light of this last year. Colette has given, oh gosh, I think it's up to $140 million in cash refunds back to all of our clients that weren't able to travel. And like I said, that was cash refunds. I know there weren't any other tour companies that were doing that and have been doing that over the last year. So I know I boasted about being so proud to represent this company, but I know it's hard to find, a company that you can represent that has integrity and such values like Colette does. So they have been in business for over 103 years. So they are the oldest tour operator in the world. Our product design team, while I love this job so much, I would love to be on this team as well, because they get to go out to all these locations and vet each restaurant, each experience on tour, and check out every hotel to make sure it meets our brand standards and is at least 4 stars. So they're very passionate about their jobs and just a fun group of people. In addition to those folks, we have tour managers that are just incredible. They have to receive a 97% approval rating in order to work for Colette. And those are anonymous surveys that you'll get when you come back from this adventure, so that you can give feedback on the tour manager, and they kind of serve as a concierge and a little bit of a history professor, but not to Laura's level, and also hopefully a comedian. Any of the tour managers that I've met so far, they've been really fun and hilarious. So just keep in mind that when you're traveling with Colette, you are traveling with the most expert team in worldwide travel. And another thing I'm very proud of is the Colette Foundation. We do different education and nutrition initiatives in the different regions that we're lucky enough to visit in order to give back to those people and cultures in that area. And then this is a slide that I think, well, I'll be really excited when I just get to delete this for good. This is really, we call it our traveling well protocols. This is how we've been operating out in the world since July of 2020. So this just will give you some perspective on how we have been doing that safely and receiving rave reviews from our travelers when they return from tour. So I wouldn't get too lost in the weeds on this, because with this tour going out in May of 2022, I think the world's going to look even better. But if any of you have particular questions about any of these protocols, feel free to reach out to myself or Karen, and we can give you the particulars on how we're operating in Europe currently. But we are pretty much just going with whatever the region's mandates and requirements are. We're just following their rules and letting them decide, what we need to have our travelers do. But one thing that I think is so awesome, all of our tours that are going out now that have to come back into the States, we're providing all the tests free of charge for all of our travelers to go back out into the world and take the test for free to be able to submit it and to get back into the States. So I don't know if any of you have heard stories about people going out into the world currently and maybe, spending upwards of hundreds of dollars on these tests. I can't believe they're so expensive. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that we truly take care of everybody when they're out on the road with us. And when I was on tour with Colette, I kind of felt like I was being parented a little bit, because I just had no worries. And I knew I had a whole team watching out for me, and the tour manager and the local guides. And of course, you'll have Laura too. So just lots of people to watch out for you and take care of you while you're out there with us.
So if you've been in any of my lectures before, you've probably heard me talk about this list that I am obsessed with. The London Times created it in 2013, and it was their list of the top 50 art museums, or as the British call it, art galleries in the world. And I apologize that I've gone through and highlighted this, and so I couldn't figure out how to unhighlight the ones that I have been to. So the yellows are the ones I've been to, the whites are the ones that I have not yet been to. But this is going to be a reoccurring slide throughout the presentation, because there are so many museums that we're going to go to that are on this list. So I just wanted to show it to you. And if you've been to any of these as you're looking at it, I'd love to hear, drop in the chat what your favorite one was, or where you still want to get to. I know for me, number 31, the Inhotim Sculpture Park. It's in the interior rainforest of Brazil. It was an old rubber plantation that's now just been, the town has been completely transformed into a contemporary art museum. So that's one that's really hard to get to, but I can't wait. And just to show how obsessed I am with this list, I'm wearing a necklace. It's kind of hard to see, but this was my 10th year anniversary present this year. My husband has been working on it for years. It has I'm looking at one right now that's for the Uffizi. It's like a little medallion, and he got a jeweler to engrave one of the signature pieces in the collection. So this is like, the one of Venus coming out of her shell, and so it's got like Venus's face engraved on the front, and on the back it's engraved the Uffizi. So he made me a necklace of all of the museums that I've been to so far. And it's just, yeah, so I'm completely obsessed with this list and can vouch for the museums that are on it. So I'm really excited to take you guys to some of the, we're like, I don't think anything on the list is under the top 25. So like everything's like top 25 level museum. But before we get into the trip, I also wanted to just say that if you have no art background, you have no museum going background, that is not a problem at all. And in fact, I think can be an asset. No prior knowledge is necessary for a trip like this. What I love about art and about art history is it's just this form of storytelling to me. And I really strive to make history come alive with interesting details and, things that we can all relate to as human beings. And that doesn't require anything of you except, just perhaps a willingness to listen to me spin a yarn. Honestly, I think of most of my lectures as gossip, because just gossip that's like hundreds of years old, because it's those like juicy details from history that really capture my imagination. And so that's what I use. That's what I dig for to try to make it come alive for you guys. And museums themselves, I think, are just spectacular places. They can be stuffy and elitist, but the humanity that is in them, and that's what just cows me whenever I'm in a museum, is this connection to something that a human being made hundreds or thousands of years ago. And if you just want to come on this trip for the incredible food or the architecture or for shopping, those are great reasons to come to. These are world-class cities, and you will get all of those things in any of these places. And you have like 12 days to do it, so you can really dig in. And maybe you just want to come because you want to case some of these museums to like plan your own art theft. And I will not judge that at all. And in fact, if that is what you're up to, I want in on it. Like I want to be a part of that scheme. So let's talk. Okay, next slide.
Oh goodness, you're amazing. Well, we got to give kudos to your husband.
Yeah.
The quote, I heard it once, it's amazing to be loved, but it's profound to be understood. And
Oh.
I should know who said that before I quote them, but boy, your husband really understands you, and what a gift that is.
Yes, and to put it into perspective, this is a man that has like a sports movie collection. Like he is not interested in art and museums, but he, like you said, he understands that I am. So that's really special. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on to the show, Treasures and Thieves, tracing art crime through the great museums of Europe, is 12 days and 13 meals. And then keep in mind that when you're having meals with us here at Colette, we're going to make sure that you're eating at the local hangouts, the locally sourced ingredients, to make sure that you're really getting the culture and the flavor of the region. Now, occasionally you'll be having breakfast at the hotel if we're going to have an early day, but other than that, you're really going to be going where the locals go to experience the region. And when I first saw this tour, I was so excited about the pacing. This is incredible because you've got 2 3-night stays. You're going to be staying in Amsterdam days 2 through 5. And it's just so nice to see it on the map so you can get a visual of where you're traveling. And of course, the 2 days, 3 nights in Paris, and then 4 nights in Amsterdam. And you'll be flying out. And keep in mind that everything that I'm featuring here in this presentation is included. We have your air, your land, all these meals and the excursions included in this. So I think this is the idea of a true vacation when you get a couple nights in each region to really understand the culture and meet some of the locals while you're there.
And if I can interrupt, Mandy, and just say
Sure.
that like the timing of this trip was definitely on purpose to be early May. And we'll talk about that in a minute here with like the Keukenhof Gardens and getting to see tulips in bloom, but also it's before school lets out, much before school lets out for, like K through 12 schools. And a lot of like universities will still be in session till the end of May. So don't tell my chair that I'm probably missing out on the last 2 weeks of school. But that's going to be great because these cities will be way less busy than if we went like a month later.
Absolutely. You're going to avoid the summer crowds and the summer heat.
Yeah.
So, of course, your journey is going to begin in Amsterdam, 800 years old, so much history here, and of course, the capital of the Netherlands. It's known for those iconic canals, the incredible houseboats you can see here along the canal, fields of tulips that you'll see, of course, at Keukenhof Gardens. And the city is just so alive, and everywhere you look, it's just like a postcard. So you'll settle into this beautiful destination and enjoy a traditional Danish welcome dinner with your fellow travelers and certainly new friends. All of our welcome and departure dinners are really extravagant and feature, of course, the local flavors of the region and oftentimes entertainment as well.
And because this is a sip and see, I thought I'd pretend like I was drinking a different drink in every place. And even though I just have one, I promise you I'm not that much of a lush. But in Amsterdam, I was like, what is the biggest drink of Amsterdam? Of course, it's beer. So the most Netherlandish drink that I could find was beer. And the most famous Dutch breweries are Heineken, Bavaria, and Grolsch. But besides those big ones that are like household names, there's just independent breweries all over the place. And so if you are a beer drinker, it's going to be a really hard decision for you whenever you go out to dinner to have a drink. And so I'd love to hear, if you want to drop in the chat what you're drinking tonight or what you'd like to be drinking, please share.
I would like to ask Mandy, when you're talking about the local flavor and all of the extravagant meals, what if someone has a special diet? Someone just asked in the chat, like if they're vegetarian or something like that.
Sure. Well, Europe is so progressive when it comes to different dietary needs. And what I would do, and I can help orchestrate this with Karen when she returns, is what we'll do is we'll just reach out to the tour manager and they will connect with the restaurant owner oftentimes, or at least the management there, and just see what the options are there at the restaurant. I'm actually vegetarian and date a wonderful vegan man and live in Omaha in cattle country. So it's not always easy in the Midwest, and I'm sure in Texas to do that. But in these incredible metropolitan regions, they have a vast array of wonderful vegan and vegetarian options. But it's no harm to reach out and make sure that they have that menu there for you before you head out.
And Janice, you wouldn't be alone. I'm going on this trip, and I have several dietary requirements, and looks like Dr. Evans does too. So
Yeah.
We'll make sure that those get addressed far in advance of traveling. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I found out, and thank you too. I really appreciate hearing the answer to that as well. And I found out a new one recently, and it's really depressing, everybody. I don't want to ruin your night, but I found out I'm allergic to coffee a couple of weeks ago. Oh, so sad.
My goodness.
I know, devastating.
Oh.
But we make up for it in other ways.
Oh, goodness. There we go. I had a little bit of a delay. Okay, and then of course here are the world famous Keukenhof Gardens. It's just a sanctuary of fragrance and all these gorgeous colors in bloom. There's more than 7 million tulips and other flowers on this exhibit. So it just looks like a menagerie of beauty and goes on forever. So this will be such an incredible experience on this tour.
And I've actually never gotten to see this. I've been to Amsterdam many a time, but I've never gotten to see the tulips in bloom. So I am really excited for this.
Yep, perfect timing for everybody. And then you'll be, of course, making your way to the Van Gogh Museum, and then you'll learn about this very eccentric Dutch-born artist's work and influence over the art scene from the post-impressionist period and beyond.
And, you know, though we won't like have a lecture specifically about this, we're definitely going to talk about all of the thefts that have occurred at the Van Gogh Museum over the years. 20 pieces were stolen in 1991, which is like the biggest haul after, like monetarily, after the Isabella Stewart Gardner heist. And then 2 more were stolen in 2002 in a pretty epic, like rappelling through the ceiling kind of way. And so for the whole of the Netherlands, 28 Van Goghs have been stolen since 1988. So he's very much, you know, the national artist. 27 of them have been recovered. 1 was just stolen during the pandemic in 2020. And on Van Gogh's 167th birthday, which is March 30th, in case you're celebrating. And it's the only one of the 28 that has not yet been recovered, though there's currently a suspect in custody. So maybe we can help them solve this if it's still an ongoing investigation when we're there.
My gosh, that's fascinating. You could be a writer for movies. That one little snippet of information you gave sounded like a movie.
If you're listening to this and you're a movie producer, call me. So on the list of top 50 art galleries, if you're keeping track, Van Gogh is number 13, lucky 13, which could explain why it's had so many thefts. But just if you're playing along, that's where that one ranks. Okay, so on day 4 in Amsterdam, we're gonna, a lot of times what we'll do is have breakfast together, and I will like give a lecture over breakfast. So you'll be very like civilized, eating your croissant and coffee or whatever, and I'll just be hopefully entertaining you. And the lecture on that day is going to be of my favorite art forger of all time, Han van Meegeren. And there's everything in the story. There's love and lying, pride, shame, drugs, Nazis, jail. It's got it all, like it has it all. And we're going to dive into his very complex forgery schemes and how he eventually earned this like fame and immortality as one of history's greatest art forgers. And what he was forging were Vermeers. So that was his like niche in the forgery world. So while we're in Amsterdam, we're going to take a train out to The Hague, you know, which is the center of government for the Netherlands. It's also home to the royal family. And it's also home to the Moorshouse Museum, which is where we'll see arguably Vermeer's most famous painting, The Girl with the Pearl Earring. And Fabritius's The Goldfinch, which has also become very famous because there's books and movies about both of them. In fact, I think it would be really fun if we did like a book club or a movie club before the trip, because there's a book and a movie about each of those. One that, yeah, recently won the Pulitzer, I think. So it's 2 great books. And then there's amazing other work at the Moorshouse too, like Rembrandt's The Anatomy Lesson, which was really the thing that made Rembrandt famous. And this innocuous looking painting of a bull in the lower right corner was the most famous painting of its day. So there's just some really wonderful pieces at the Moorshouse. And being in The Hague is very cool too. It's a beautiful city. So, okay, Mandy.
And then this evening you'll have at leisure. It's always nice to, you know, have that busy day of different information with history and being able to, you know, explore the city with your guides. But you also always get to have this free time, and you'll also have the local guides here that will be able to give you guidance. If there's something of interest to you in the region, they'll be able to give you the scoop on where to go and how to get there. Of course, you could always go to an orchestra performance or enjoy some more of the local cuisine. And of course, our guides can teach you how to get there and the best places to go.
Okay, so on the 5th day in Amsterdam, I feel like I'm like doing the 12 days of Christmas or something, like on the fifth day in Amsterdam. Our morning will again start with a lecture about Rembrandt's The Night Watch. And it's one of the most epic paintings in the world. And I think seeing a slide like this just really doesn't do it justice. So I'm going to ask Mandy to advance and show you another picture of it. So there we go. Like, it's just huge, right? So a little bit better to put it into scale. And it's a absolutely gigantic painting. And so we're really going to take a deep dive into it and talk about why it is so very famous. And we'll talk about who Rembrandt was and why he was just such a tragic character. And we'll get into a very different kind of art crime that I don't often lecture about, which is vandalism. And it's The Night Watch is iconic for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons why it's become this like lightning rod for idealistic people who want to make a point and who use the Night Watch to do so. So it has been damaged several times by people trying to make their point with it. So we'll get into those stories of its vandalism. And then, well, it's in the Rijksmuseum, which is this beautiful building that you see here. And it had a facelift in 2013. It was completely gutted and redone, and it's just stunning inside. So next slide, Mandy. Inside, it has just a tremendous collection, but I've just pulled out two pieces because we're going to be talking quite a lot about Vermeer while we're in Amsterdam, and because of Han van Meegeren, you know, this was what he was forging. And I'm showing them to you. I'm going to try to show them to you as much as possible because there's such a special relationship that you get to have with a work of art when you've studied it and you've seen it over and over and over again as a reproduction. And then when you actually get to see it in person, it's like giving me goosebumps just to think about the times that I've had that, been lucky enough to have that happen. And I think there's, it's very easy to do that with a Vermeer because you see it on the slide and it's like, yeah, that looks interesting. Like, wow, he was talented. But then you get to see it in person and he is just, there's such a quiet majesty to a Vermeer when you actually get to see it. It's sense of intimacy that he captures better than any painter that I've seen, you know, these moments of real like stillness and contemplation. And I don't use this word lightly, but it's like a transcendent experience to have a moment with them. So knowing that someone painted it over 400 years ago and it's there for you to like commune with, to communicate with. So he is, as you can tell, one of my favorite painters. So to get to see these in the flesh in Amsterdam is really special. Okay, next slide. And the Rijksmuseum, just under the top 10 for top 50 museums in the world. So really high up there. Okay, next.
And then you'll have an opportunity to spend the afternoon and evening on your own. And of course, in addition to all the incredible museums that are included on this tour, there is, of course, the Anne Frank Museum, the Rembrandt Museum. You could take a canal ride to see the city, lots of options to experience the city on your own and, of course, soak up some more of the culture in the museums. And then today you'll be boarding your train from Amsterdam to Paris, which is another iconic European capital known for fashion, food, of art, the city of lights.
And I just wanted to say that I'm so excited for the train ride. I know that like the transportation part isn't always the most fun, you know, like getting on a plane or a bus or whatever, but I love riding trains through Europe because well, I guess there's a number of reasons. Like you can, you know, watch the landscape go by outside the window. You can get up and walk around on a train, stretch your legs. There's usually always Wi-Fi on these really nice trains, food, like a food car. It's more comfortable seating, you have space. And so I really enjoy riding a train when I can.
Absolutely. It's so nice to just be able to take in the atmosphere and the scenery instead of focusing on driving or something and still being comfortable with, lavatories and such on board.
Yeah. And in Paris, it's a sip and see. I'm going to drink absinthe, which is this very mysterious, decadent drink. And it's this unmistakable, shade of green. And it's licorice flavored, if anybody has had it or hasn't had it. And it's really often in history been this favorite of eccentric artists. And there's a rumor that this is what Van Gogh drank when he, cut off his ear when he was fighting with Paul Gauguin. And it was even considered so toxic, this drink, in the 19th century, that French soldiers used it as a cure for malaria. And then it was outlawed for a while, and now a completely safe version has been brought back on the market since 2011. So if anyone's brave enough to take an absinthe with me in the streets of Paris, I'll cheers with you.
And what is that in the center on the serving tool? Is that a cork? It almost looks like.
I think it's a sugar cube.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, how interesting. I think sometimes the preparation is half the joy of some of these drinks
Definitely.
with so much history.
Yeah, the Green Fairy is its nickname. So.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
And then another awesome mode of transportation. This will be so relaxing. You'll have a river cruise down on the River Seine and get a beautiful view of Paris's glittering landscape there.
And I've never been on a river cruise in the Seine, so this is another thing that I'm really excited about.
And then this morning, of course, you'll be delving into Paris's storied art scene with a lecture before making your way to the Louvre, one of the most stunning art museums in the world.
And I mean, like, we could just, the Louvre itself is like one giant art crime. We could probably just spend 12 days in it. And, the only reason the Louvre exists is because Napoleon stole all the art from everywhere else in Europe and Africa. So it's not going to be our focus, how the Louvre came to be and the art crime that it is. But instead, we're going to focus on the Mona Lisa, of course, and her theft from the museum and how she was catapulted into fame just because of being stolen. So she's now become one of the most famous works of art of all time, as we know, but it probably wouldn't have happened that way if she hadn't been pilfered.
I have to say, this is the most fascinating presentation I've ever been a part of. I had no idea of the history of the Louvre, and that's just so fascinating to me.
Oh yeah, Napoleon, he had some real sticky fingers. Or I guess he had a lot of people to do that for him. And then, I mean, it's the Louvre, like, wow, how does it get better than this? So I just put up what I could fit on a slide of the masterpieces that we'll see there. I think they're probably all pretty recognizable to you guys. And there's so many more to see. And remind me, I'll save this for the trip, but I have a really funny Louvre story that a docent I may have already shared it in another, I can't remember, in my Mona Lisa lecture, but if you haven't heard it already, I'll bore you with that when we're there. And then we've broken the top 10. So the Louvre is number 8, which is shocking, truly. If I had one of the editors who wrote this in the London Times on right now, I would like to have a conversation with them about this, because I don't know how the Kunstmuseum in Basel got ahead of the Louvre, but whatever. We've broken the top 10 here, so that's impressive.
Okay, and then of course, after you tour a portion of this 782,910 square foot building, you'll make your way to the Musee dOrsay to see the French art dating from 1848 to 1914. the evening will be yours to explore Paris a little further. Of course, there's Moulin Rouge there, or you can enjoy the French ballet.
And I love the Musée dOrsay. It's not, on our, it's not like built into a lecture, but is absolutely one of my favorite museums in Paris. It's built into this old train station. You can see the clock that they would have used, like scurrying travelers would have looked up to that to make sure that they were getting to their train on time. And it's, one of the best collections of Impressionist art in the world. Your jaw will be hanging open the entire time. We're talking about Manet's Olympia and Déjeuner sur l'herbe and Monet's Impressionism Sunrise, Van Gogh's The Bedroom, Whistler's Mother is there. There's Degas and Toulouse-Lautrec, Seurat, Rodin. It's, so many more works of art that you'll recognize or discover for the very first time there. So it's a wonderful collection.
It looks like just the building itself could use several hours of history and the story behind it. It's so old.
Definitely. And it is number 14 on that list.
Okay, and then this morning you'll be enjoying a lecture before you board the bus, and you'll venture to Chateau de Fontainebleau. This is a medieval castle, and it's one of France's largest royal chateaus, and it's been inhabited by everyone from Louis VII to Napoleon III. Then you'll have the remainder of the afternoon and evening to explore some more and take one last stroll through Paris's romantic streets.
So I'm actually going to do, I think this is right, Stephanie. I'm doing my lecture on the bus on this day, which I'm very excited about. I don't know, it just feels like something I want to check off my bucket list to lecture on a bus. So this lecture is about a crazy series of very daring thefts that have of Chinese artifacts that have been stolen from museums pretty much all in Europe, the Fontainebleau being one of them. I think it's actually, if I remember correctly, been broken into twice by someone who's stealing these Chinese artifacts. And these are like crazy crimes. We're talking about people rappelling through the roof, using glass cutters, and they're plucking these things out in the matter of seconds. Like it's just with the blink of an eye. So they're very well orchestrated and clearly practiced and planned. And it remains a mystery to this day. So no one knows who is stealing these objects, but there are some very serious subjects or serious suspects. So, I think if we put our heads together, we can figure this one out.
And what is the impetus usually for these thieves to steal these items? I imagine there would be a black market for these relics and treasures, or are there some folks that like to just, of course, for their own collection, or what's the main impetus for that?
That's the $1 million question, Mandy. There's so many reasons. One of them is that it can be used as like a form of currency. They'll usually ask for, I'm blanking. They'll ask for a ransom. There we go. And if they don't get that, then they'll go to the insurance company and try to get, money from them, a ransom money from them. And if they can get, like $30,000 for a work of art that would have cost $3 million, and they did it in 3 minutes and nobody got hurt, it's a pretty good deal. Yes. But there's ties between like art crime and terrorism, so funding terrorist acts. Sometimes it's a proving ground that criminals prove that they can do something like this. But more often than that, and it's used as like a currency. So if they don't have money for something, they can be like, look, this newspaper headline says this is worth $10 million. Can you give me that giant pile of drugs over there? Like, we'll call this even. And so that's usually what it's used for.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this is, okay, so here's another couple on our top 50 list, not built into the tour, but because we're there for 12 days on this trip, you'll have time to do your own thing, which is, I think, a great thing. And one of the museums on the top 50 list is the Centre Pompidou, which you see here. You can probably guess that it is a modern and contemporary collection of art. And it's not under construction. That is just what the building looks like. So all of the insides are on the outside. And the architecture is amazing, crazy, brilliant. So it's definitely something you want to at least walk past.
My goodness, is that a staircase going up that almost looks like a
Yes.
slide?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And also in Paris and on the list is the Musée Nationale Picasso. So that is number 22. The Centre Pompidou is 27. So if you're keeping track, we're getting up there with our numbers.
And then today you'll be boarding the Eurostar train from Paris to London. This is United Kingdom's cosmopolitan capital. You'll take the afternoon to explore this bustling, energetic city with so much history. And then, of course, you can visit Big Ben here or do some window shopping at Harrods. Tonight, you'll enjoy dinner in London with your fellow travelers.
And because it's London, I'm drinking a Pimms Cup, which, is like the summer drink and drink of polo matches and very British, right? It's traditionally made with like lemonade, lemon soda, ginger beer, ginger ale, and heavily garnished with fruit and cucumbers and sprigs of basil and mint. So, cheerio. Let's cheers to this Pimms Cup.
That looks amazing and so refreshing.
Yes. And so on our first day together in London after breakfast, we'll talk about the case of a very odd couple, Forgery Team. And they managed to hoodwink galleries, museums, collectors out of millions and millions of dollars. And this story involves deceit, arson, false identities, and even like television fame. So it's a real doozy as well. The forgers really are my favorites, I think, because there's so much with them. And after the lecture, we'll go to the Tate Modern, which is this building here, because it's one of several museums that this forgery team infiltrated in London. And the Tate Modern is just an iconic place. It has an amazing collection. One of my favorite works of art of all time is there Henri Matisse's The Snail, one of his giant paper cutouts. But the last time I was there, they had a work of art that was slides. So you could slide from like the top floor of the museum down to the bottom floor, or from any floor, really. There was a slide on any floor. It was a work of art, but it was also a lot of fun. And then after that, we're going to go to the National Gallery, where we'll talk about the legendary Duke of Wellington painting that was stolen from that collection. And then we'll get to cap the day off with a well-deserved afternoon tea, which is a good spread there. Scones and clotted cream. So at the National Gallery, again, just a jaw-dropping collection. In my lecture on the Duchess of Devonshire, I don't know if anybody remembers, I talked about this painting in the upper left. It's the portrait of Mr. and Mrs. Andrews by Gainsborough. So that's there. So we'll get to commune with the Andrewses. And then there's countless other masterpieces. We'll get to see a Caravaggio, that's in the upper right, Supper at Emmaus. In the lower left is Van Eyck's Arnolfini wedding portrait. The middle is Velázquez's Cursed, possibly, Rokeby Venus. And then, we'll just throw in a Da Vinci at the end. We've got the Virgin of the Rocks. So it's, I panicked when I was putting the slide together because there are just like so many amazing pieces at the National Gallery, and I couldn't decide what to pick. So if you like art, or if you don't, your eyes are going to be just like popping out of your head at the National Gallery. And here we are, National Gallery, top 10, number 9, Tate Modern, number 16.
And then, of course, here's the British Museum.
Mm-hmm. And there we're going to do a lecture about the Elgin Marbles, which if you want to advance, Mandy, it's the next slide. And we're going to talk about these and kind of, I hope, stage a little debate at the end. We've gotten to know each other over 11 days. So let's like take the gloves off and have a debate about the Elgin Marbles and what should be done with them. They were, you know, Greece and Britain have been fighting over these for hundreds of years. And we'll talk about whether or not they might be cursed. And it's been this major contention between Athens and London ever since they were removed from the Parthenon in the 1800s. And so we're going to talk about it. Like, where do you think that they should belong? Are there sustainable solutions to these controversies? So we're going to try to solve a problem that has existed for 200 years. And I just wanted to point out, though, it's not on the agenda. If you're like me and this matters to you, there are 3 other museums on the top 50 list in London. So again, you're going to have lots of your own time, leisure time. And if you wanted to, you could swing by these other 3 that are in London.
Yep, and there's enough free time to be able to do that. That's exciting. Oh my goodness. And of course, it always makes me sad when we get to this point, but this is the day you depart. But of course, my favorite thing about travel is taking some of that culture home with me and never letting it go, because it's just so amazing to be a part of these people's lives and be able to see the history and connect with the locals. So you'll be able to keep that resonating in your home when you return. So here's another list.
Yeah, this is to just cap it off. So if you were keeping track at home, there's 5 different museums in red that we're going to go to together as a group, and 6 others that you could go to if you wanted to with your own time. So you'll have checked off 11 museums on the top 50 museums in the world list, which, you know, I imagine if you're here for the sip and see, this kind of thing matters to you. And maybe, you know, we can strike a bargain and I can get my husband to make you a necklace too.
That's awesome. Oh, go ahead, Amanda. I thought you were
sure. No, did you have something to add, hun?
I'll just wait till the very, very end.
No problem. Well, I just wanted to mention, you know, traveling with Colette is truly like the easy button, easy peasy. You're just going to be whisked away. We'll pick you up and take you to the airport and then back again. I don't know if there's been a pickup location determined for you all, Stephanie.
Usually it will be from the Ollie office. People can just come get someone to drop you off at the Ollie office, and then we can all be picked up there and taken to the airport by Colette, which is awesome. I don't like that drive to the airport anymore. It's too much construction.
Yeah, that's from here where it's just easy peasy and you just get to enjoy the experience and being spoiled. And there's several different ways to personalize your experience. Of course, doing those optional excursions during your free time. I think pre-nights are a really great idea. Anytime I've been over to Europe and I hit the ground running that first day, I'm usually so exhausted because I can't sleep on the plane. I'm too excited. So if you're able to sleep on the plane, you know, because we're going to be sending you over there on an overnight flight, then you should be just fine. But, you know, if you're like me and may need that rest so that you can enjoy your first day on tour, please do consider a pre-night. We can get you into the hotel that everybody else will be joining you the next night, and you'll start the day well rested and, you know, with a little extra time on your own to explore the city. And of course, you can always do post nights as well. If you would like to extend your tour in the area, we can always arrange that for you. And something I would never usually mention, but it seems to be a pretty popular thing, are tour extensions. I have a lot of clients that are doing back-to-back tours. Since, you know, you're paying for that one airfare, you know, you can always add on another tour at the end or the beginning. So feel free to reach out and we can give you the scoop on all those details. And I have never in my life been excited about insurance to talk about it, or and I've never been one of those that buys the extended warranty or anything like that. But I am so proud of our travel protection. Like I said at the beginning, anytime I go anywhere and do a presentation, I hear so many testimonies of people, being in Barcelona and there was a political uprising and we, had a jet come out and pick up our travelers and take them back home to get them home safe. Different medical emergencies while you're on tour with us, you're taken care of, you're covered with our travel protection. And I believe for this tour, it's $329. I'll have to double check, but I believe the travel protection is $329. And keep in mind, folks, that will give you 100% cash refund up to 24 hours before departure for this tour. And in addition to everything I mentioned here on the screen, baggage loss, if there's a delay, if the flights are delayed a day or two, you get reimbursed for those couple days on tour that you missed. So truly unrivaled in the market, and just another Colette policy that I'm incredibly proud of. So we do have a loyalty program. If any of y'all have traveled with Colette in 2018 or 2019, you will have loyalty dollars to apply towards this adventure. So I know a lot of people thought that they had lost their loyalty points after 2020, but we're just kind of pretending like that year didn't happen and just carrying over those dollars to the next adventures in 21 and 2022. And then, of course, on this adventure, you are going to need your passport. And I have heard stories about the passports taking much longer because of the pent-up demand. I would think you'd be safe to wait maybe till fall or the end of the year to do this, but it's something to be sure that you put on your calendar to start the process if you need to renew it. I don't think you're going to have to worry about having it be valid for 8 months beyond the travel date. That's something that they had put into place for 2021 for this year. And I think they're going to just keep bumping that out in lieu of this last year. But just keep in mind that you are going to need to have that passport in order to travel. And there's so many different ways to sign up for this tour. I know I love these links because this is customized for you, just like this tour is customized for you all. This is so cool. But you can hop on here and it has all the information about the tour, any extra features you can add on, and it just goes by day itinerary. And then you can just go in there and sign up easy peasy on the link. But just please make sure that your ID that you're going to be, boarding the plane with matches your registration form exactly to avoid any issues, because they can be a little particular about that these days. And then this is a snapshot of the dates of travel, in addition to what you would need to provide in order to secure your space. It's just $829. That includes the insurance waiver and the deposit. So then really the only thing you need to figure out is, your passport, and then 60 days before departure, final payments due. So here it shows the total price based on double occupancy, is $5,828 without the insurance waiver. So that would be the total price. And like I said, that includes everything that you see here. So you really only need money for souvenirs or, extra drinks or, some of those meals that you're able to venture out on your own to experience. So I would love to open up the forum and, answer any questions. But one thing I failed to do at the beginning was just thank you both immensely for your support. Karen and I love what we do, and it's people like you, Stephanie and Laura, that keep us doing what we're doing because of your support of Colette and being our cheerleaders. So I'm so grateful for you both.
Thank you so much. Looks like we do have some questions. Some have already been answered as you were speaking. But someone had asked if they could move on to other destinations after London, and you addressed that and saying that they can help you arrange post-trip extensions. So they're definitely able to do that. Another question was, did you want to go?
Oh, I just wanted to guess that person is going to go to Ireland because their screen name is Irish.
Oh.
Perhaps.
Oh,
maybe. Someone asked if there's a possibility to be matched up and share rooms to qualify for the double rate rather than pay the single rate.
Stephanie, do you usually keep a list of single travelers? I think it's a really useful thing to
Yeah.
do. If, and then basically when you get a single traveler, I usually just encourage you to connect with them and say, hey, are you okay with your information being provided to anyone that might be looking for a roommate? And then maybe they can meet for coffee or lunch and see if they get along.
We would be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
a
we'll
great idea.
definitely do that. And then someone asked if they're able to upgrade the airline using miles.
Yes, we can absolutely apply miles to, to the tour. You bet. And we want to make sure that we have all your flight information when you sign up. There's a place to put in your numbers and your membership numbers and everything for each airline, because it won't be until about 9 months out that we'll know which airlines we're going to be using on the adventure. So, yep, that's absolutely just fine.
Someone asked how much more does it cost to be a single traveler?
I, I'm so proud of our single traveler costs. Now, I can pull up the document that Karen had provided me with to give you the exact figure for that. But one thing I wanted to mention, I've done a ton of solo travel in my life. And oftentimes when you're looking at the costs for solo travel, it's usually outrageous. It's almost like they charge you twice as, or for a double traveling as a solo, but our prices are so fair. Hold on just a second. If you want to do another question.
While Mandy's looking that up, I will tell you that you can actually go to the Ollie website and click on the travel link and then click on this trip. And you can actually sign up for the trip through that. It has all of the prices listed for single travelers, double travelers. You can sign up and pay your deposit through our website. So it has the full itinerary on our website as well. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Donna asked, will participants be separated from tour group if they want to travel first class, especially across the pond?
Not usually, no. If we're able to, usually we'll get a block for everyone and everyone will travel together. First class is oftentimes provided on those flights easily. So no, that would be unusual to have that happen. And I did pull up our single price for this tour. It is $7,228. So I've actually got a married couple in Iowa that travels as singles every time they go anywhere with us. So you may want to take advantage of the extra space just because.
And yeah.
The comment, she says she thinks pre-trips can be very helpful to help with the jet lag. It makes the first days of a tour so much more tolerable.
Absolutely.
And for anyone that is single traveling, I will join you. I will also be single traveling. So, we can buddy up too on, days when we have free time and stuff. My husband will be able to come. So single travelers unite.
And are there any other questions that you have for Mandy or Laura at this point?
Sorry, I talked so long about that.
No, that's great. I do want to say that if you're interested in more of Dr. Evans' stories, she's teaching a class for us on July 14th, Art Crime Story Time, the tales from the history of art. So be sure that you attend that class. And she will also be teaching an Ollie After 5 class this fall in September, right when classes go back to in person. So we're really looking forward to that one, where we will also have the opportunity to sip and see while we're having wine and cheese while listening to that story. And I just encourage you to think about this trip. The deposits are due November 5th. This trip was custom made for our Ollie. This is not available anywhere else. And Dr. Evans, are there other trips like this out there?
Right, good point. I have only ever seen one other art crime specific trip, and it was by a professor of mine who taught me in Italy in the art crime program there. He did one a couple of years ago, and he's from New Zealand, so it was only Kiwis only trip. But I've never seen anything else like this.
So
Not
this
to brag.
Yeah, right. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity trip. I think it's very reasonably priced. So I'll be going on this trip. I get excited every time Laura tells us a little story. I think you do tell it in gossip form, and it feels so right. So it's fun and engaging, and I just imagine spending day after day listening to those stories while being immersed right in that culture. So I'm super excited about this trip. We already have people signed up to go, but through this event and through the extra classes in the Ollie After 5, we hope we get even more people just as excited about this as we are. We created this for you. Dr. Evans worked with Karen and myself. We just sat in that Ollie office and penciled this all out, and then Colette put it all together. So, and also, you do have to be an Ollie member to participate, but you can, if you have a family member that doesn't live here that you might want to go with you, or a friend that you might want to go with you, they could become an Ollie member at the lowest rate, the $55 rate, and then join you on this trip. So it doesn't have to be somebody that lives right here. You can invite friends or family from all over to attend this once in a lifetime trip. Here comes a question. Let's see.
Yeah, Betsy and Sandy had a mind meld and asked the same question about, is there a number limit of people for this trip?
Right, so there's 44 spots, and that's nice that our coaches over in Europe usually have space for almost 60 people, but we never go that high. We want to make sure everyone has their space, even pre-pandemic. So there are only 44 spots. So keep that in mind, that you can always receive your deposit back up. What was it? November 5th was the deposit due date, Stephanie?
Yeah.
So, and even without insurance, you can receive that deposit back all the way up until November 5th. So if you still want to see what the world looks like throughout the rest of this year, you can do that, and no harm. And just go ahead, and there's no fuss when you have to get a refund through us. We just send it back right on your card within 24 to 48 hours. It's very quick.
So we're just super excited. I think this was a very fun way to introduce the trip. It was gave us a lot of great information. So thank you so much, Mandy, and thank you so much, Laura. This has been wonderful. Thank you all for participating in this. I hope to see you. I hope to see you on this trip with us, because we're going to have a wonderful time. So any other questions, you can email me directly, because most of you have my email address, and I can get them to the right places.
And please email me as well. I'm putting my email address in the chat so that if you don't already have it, it's there. I'd love to hear from you if it's about the trip, or I've had somebody email me once about like an object that they had found, and we put them in touch with the right person to be able to tell them what the object was. Anything. I love hearing from you guys. If you have a lecture topic that you really want delved into one day, I'm here for all of that.
I have to say, we found a real gem when we found Dr. Evans. She is absolutely amazing and has become an Ollie favorite, and we're just so fortunate to have you as part of our program. So I can't thank you enough. If you have more questions about the details of the trip, I encourage you to go to our website. Pretty much it's spelled out there, and you can go ahead and sign up there too. So
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm available to like Zoom with you individually if you want to talk about it more, or have a phone call or email, anything. I would love to see you there, and I'm here to help any way I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a good night and enjoyed whatever you were sipping on.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.